Sally walked through the door in the back alley straight into the crazy restaurant kitchen. She spotted her mom stirring 3 pots while the head chef screamed at everyone.
Faster, faster!
Sally walked up to her mom and tugged at her apron.
Mom, I need to ask you something. Right now? Yes, right now. What is it then? Spit it out.
Mom, where's my daddy?
Suddenly, the bowl her mother was holding crashed to the floor.
Oh my God, you stupid woman! You're fired! Get out!
A minute later, Sally and her mother found themselves out on the street.
Mom, I'm really sorry.
You wanted to know about your dad, huh?
Yeah, we had to make a family tree in school.
Well, he's not your family. He's a good-for-nothing loser who left us. I'm your mom and your dad. And look, just mentioning him made me lose my job. He's bad luck. Not a word about him ever again.
As they walked back home in silence, Sally wondered who her dad was and why he'd left. What she didn't know was that her mom wasn't telling the truth. Her dad didn't even know she existed. One day in the 10th grade, Sally was waitressing at a restaurant when suddenly a woman started to choke on something. Sally rushed to her and performed the Heimlich maneuver till she coughed out a piece of chicken.
Oh my God, you saved my life!
As all the customers applauded, the woman took Sally's hand and dragged her outside.
I don't know how to thank you, but let me try.
She took off a large diamond ring on her finger and pushed it in Sally's palm. Sally tried to refuse, but she wouldn't hear a word and just left. When Sally and her mom had the ring valued, it turned out to be worth a whopping $1.2 million. This could change their lives. They sold the ring, and with the money, they decided to move to a better house. One night, Sally's mom slipped into the attic and took an old letter out of the box. She went downstairs and threw it in the fireplace. She didn't want Sally to ever read it. The letter said, "I'm so sorry that you had a miscarriage and you had to go through it alone. I know you hate me, but please let me help you. I really do love you, and I always will. Charles." But what she didn't know was that a few days ago, Sally had been looking for something in the attic, and she'd already found the letter, and it kept haunting her. Sally looked for anything she could find on her dad and found out he was a wealthy businessman. She'd never be at peace till she met him just once. So one night she packed her bags, took some of the ring money, and left home. She took a train to the city where her dad lived. Now all she had to do was find a way to get close to him. The next morning at breakfast, Sally spat out her coffee when she saw an ad in the newspaper for a nanny by her dad's family. 24/7 nanny needed for an 8-year-old girl. P.S. only apply if you have a sophisticated British accent.
Wow, that's perfect.
Sally thought to herself.
I can fake that.
When Sally went for the interview, her jaw dropped at the size of the mansion, and there was a long line of nannies at the front door. As she joined the line, a little girl peeked out from behind a tree, looking angrily at the nannies. Just then, she spotted Sally and their eyes met. Sally started walking over to her. That must be her half-sister.
What are you doing, sweetheart?
I'm Cynthia. I'm running away. What does it look like?
Oh, I see. But why?
'Cause my mom's getting me an old cranky nanny again.
Well, what if I was your nanny?
You don't look old or cranky.
I'm not, darling. I'm full of nonsense and fun.
Please be my nanny. You sound freaking funny.
Meanwhile, what was happening in the mansion was crazy. Cynthia's mom couldn't find her anywhere and was certain someone had kidnapped her. She'd gone down to the police station, and when she got back with some officers, she found Cynthia and Sally.
Officers, arrest her! You get away from my daughter.
No, Mommy, she's my new nanny.
What, you don't get to decide that, Cynthia. We have no idea what kind of person this girl is, and she looks too poor.
Mom, you always choose my nannies, and they're awful. It's either her or no one.
Cynthia's mom had no choice, so she hired Sally and asked her to move in. Sally was so excited that she'd finally meet her dad, but the poor thing had no clue that she had so much trouble ahead of her. When Sally left for her room, Bella, Cynthia's sister, showed up.
Oh, you're back! I was hoping this time you were gone for good, brah.
Oh yeah, I'm back, witch. And guess what? I picked my own nanny. Wait till you see her. She's so much prettier than you. I can't wait for your boyfriend to meet her. Maybe he'll finally dump you.
Watch your mouth, you little monster!
And with that, Bella pulled Cynthia's hair and they both started screaming. Sally heard them and came running to save Cynthia.
Hey, leave that kid alone or I'm calling the police.
What? Do you have any idea who you're talking to?
Well, I don't care who you are, and you don't have any right to hurt a kid like that.
Oh, I have the right to hurt anyone I like. Like now, for example.
And with that, Bella attacked Sally, and they both started wrestling on the floor. Cynthia started screaming and ran off to call her parents. Just then, a man barged in and pulled them apart.
Who are you, and why are you hurting my daughter?
Sally looked stunned when she saw her dad for the first time, and she couldn't say a word.
Daddy, this is my nanny, the nicest person on earth. Bella is just evil.
Sally's dad looked straight into her eyes, and for a moment she almost thought he knew who she was. But then, he just turned to Bella and said,
To your room, now.
As Bella was leaving, she turned to Sally.
I swear I'm gonna make you regret the day you entered this house.
She stormed out of the room, and suddenly, Sally's dad turned to her.
Listen, don't ever touch my kids again. Is that clear? Don't forget your place if you want to stay here.
And with that, he turned around and left. That night, when Sally was in bed, she suddenly heard someone opening her door. She leapt out and grabbed her special broomstick, ready to attack. But suddenly, the door barged open. She let out a scream and hit the boy with the broom, knocking him out. She started slapping his face to wake him up. When he opened his eyes, Sally saw that they were the most gorgeous hazel color. They stared at each other for a few seconds, then quickly jumped to their feet.
That was quite a greeting. You could have just said hello.
You could have just knocked.
I thought this room was empty. Who are you?
What? Who are you?
I asked first, who are you?
Hiya, I'm Sally, Cynthia's nanny. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Bella's boyfriend, Alan. Or at least I was. I think we just broke up for the 20th time.
With that, he climbed out the window.
It was nice to meet you, Sally. Also, the accent is kinda hot.
And then he left. As Alan drove off on his motorbike, he couldn't stop thinking about Sally's eyes. The next day, Sally was determined to tell her dad the truth. She waited for him in the living room, but Cynthia told her that he'd left for a business trip. Sally decided to wait for him, but she had no idea how long she'd have to. One night, Ellen crept up the wall to Sally's window and knocked gently. When she pulled back the curtains and saw him, she looked more annoyed than surprised.
If you've come back to make up with Bella, why aren't you using her window?
I'm not here for her. I'm here for you. Come with me. I want to show you something.
But what about Bella?
We broke up, remember? It's for good this time. Now come.
Sally felt hesitant, but she looked into his warm eyes and just couldn't say no. As the two climbed down and sneaked off across the gardens, they had no clue they were being watched by Bella. Bella ran across the house and burst into her mother's room.
Mom, wake up! Do you have any idea what's happening under your roof? You should have never hired that nanny.
When Bella told her mother what she'd seen, she was angry.
Poor girls like her just want to dig their claws into someone rich, and these men are idiots. But Bella, you cannot let Alan get away.
I'm trying, Mom.
Oh, poor baby. I know you are. Don't worry. Mummy will help you get rid of this nanny tonight.
A few hours later, when Sally climbed back through the window, she nearly fell back in shock to find Cynthia, Mom, and Bella sitting on her bed.
Well, hello, Sally. Where were you? Meeting up with your criminal friends?
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
That's when Cynthia's mother walked up to her, holding a diamond necklace she'd never seen.
I found this in your drawer. To think I ever let a thief like you into my house?
What?
I've packed your bags already, so just get out before I change my mind and call the police.
Sally was horrified, but she knew she had to leave now. She picked up her bags and ran out of the house in tears. While Bella and her mom were cackling upstairs, Cynthia had woken up to the noises. She peeked out of her room to see Sally running out the front door. Cynthia burst into tears and ran after her.
Sally! Sally, wait! Please don't go!
Sally didn't look back even once and got into the cab. At the gate, Cynthia kept running after till the car was out of sight. But when she turned to go back, she didn't realize she'd taken the wrong route. Back at the mansion, Cynthia's mother had found out she was gone. She screamed and woke up all the servants to go out and search for Cynthia. Cynthia's mother called up Sally immediately.
Of course she's not with me, ma'am. I don't know where she is.
Sally, you have to come back right now and help me find my baby. I know, if anyone can find Cynthia, it's you. Please, I'm begging you.
Sally immediately asked the cab driver to take her back to the mansion. When she was close, she suddenly shouted,
Wait! Stop right here!
She jumped out of the cab and picked up a teddy bear from the road. It was Cynthia's. Cynthia had realized by now that she was completely lost. Suddenly, she looked up to see Sally and ran straight into her arms. Cynthia's mother ran out crying when she saw the two walking in through the gate and hugged her tight.
Mom, is Sally going somewhere? If she leaves, I'm going to run away again.
Cynthia's mother grit her teeth. Her plan had failed, but she had no choice. Bella was absolutely furious. As Sally walked back into her room, Bella suddenly grabbed her wrist and whispered,
Listen to me, witch. You're only back here because you seem to be very lucky. But don't you dare go near my boyfriend ever again.
With no clue of what had happened the night before, Alan reluctantly went to the mansion the next morning. Bella's mother had called him in. When he walked into the living room, he found Bella and her mother there.
Before you say anything, Mrs. Charles, please hear me out. I can't do this anymore. I don't love your daughter. And
Suddenly, Bella's mom flung over a small table, angrily smashing a vase to pieces.
You stupid boy. What's the love got to do with anything? This marriage is really important to both our families, and I don't think your parents will be thrilled to know you've been going out with the help.
I don't know what you're...
Stay away from the nanny, Alan. She really needs this job, and I'll make her life miserable if I see you near her. Now you two grow up. No more breakups and nonsense.
When Sally went downstairs, she almost fell back in shock to see Bella sitting in Alan's lap. She felt so foolish for believing his lies.
We broke your heart.
Sally started to walk away, but Alan pushed Bella aside and went after Sally, gently grabbing her wrist.
Alan, what is wrong with you? What do you think I am? Some toy for you to play with? I don't want you coming near me again.
Sally, you need to listen to me.
No, she doesn't, you jerk.
And with that, Bella attacked him. Sally tried to pull her away, and then Bella attacked her.
What is going on here?
Sally turned around in horror to see her dad, and he looked really mad.
Sir, this was my fault, not hers.
Oh, is that? You will be marrying my daughter next week. I'll talk to your father tonight. Sally, leave my house now.
Sally decided she couldn't hold it any longer.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Charles, because there's something I need to.
I don't want to hear another word. Leave. Please leave my house.
No, you need to listen to me. I'm your...
Hi, I'm Alva from Sweden, and I have an incredibly rare genetic mutation that causes my aging process to be much slower than normal. Like when I was 6 years old, I looked like a dumb 2-year-old toddler, which made people treat me like one, and things got even worse as a teenager. But to hear the rest of my story, please like and subscribe. Because of my condition, my parents decided to homeschool me till I was a bit older. I only got to hang out with other kids at the playground, and I'd get picked on all the time because I looked so much smaller than everybody.
Welcome, dwarfs. To her, we're giants.
Even once, when I was about 8 years old, I was playing on the slides in the park when a worried-looking woman came running over to me.
Sweetie, are you lost?
No?
Oh, poor baby, probably can't understand a thing. You must be so scared.
Do I look scared? And I'm not a baby. But she wasn't even listening to me. She just pulled out her phone and called the police.
We have a missing child here, officer. Please help her find her mommy and daddy.
Despite my protests, the policeman still lifted me into a stroller, took me to the station, and started taking pictures of me for missing child posters. Oh my god, I know my parents' number and address! I live right across the street from the playground, and you guys kidnapped me! That was just one of the countless times my parents had to go to the police station to explain and bring me home. It only temporarily stopped when I joined school in the 7th grade. The minute I walked into the classroom, a girl elbowed me roughly and said,
Oh, little one, who are you looking for? Or are you lost?
Oh, if only I had $1 for every time I heard that, I would be a millionaire by now, and I wouldn't need to be in the school with dumb people like you. And with that, I pushed her aside and took my seat. When I did all the math problems correctly in the first lesson, the teacher called me over looking all starstruck.
Wow, Alva, you're a genius!
Thanks, but why?
Because you solved these algebra problems meant for 12-year-olds.
But I am 12 years old! The teacher just giggled. And then did something I hate. She grabbed my hoodie and lifted me like I was a little kid.
Oh, aren't you a little cutie pie? Yes, you definitely have the mind of a 12-year-old.
No matter how many times I said it, no one believed that I was actually 12. They'd rather believe I was some kind of baby genius who'd been bumped up a few grades. After trying really hard, finally, I gave in and let everyone believe I was super smart. Even so, this didn't really help me become popular or make friends, though. Jessica, the meanest girl in class, wasn't too happy because everyone thought I was the smartest, and she made sure everyone constantly made fun of me.
Oh, my butt looks so huge. Are you wearing a diaper? What kind of language is that book in? Goo goo gaga? Is anyone volunteering to lift Alva up to the toilet?
Another time I was eating lunch by myself when Jessica suddenly stopped by my table.
Oh, how is the baby going to eat all that with her little baby teeth?
Why are you this way, Jessica? What do you mean? I mean, why are you so awful to me? You're the most popular girl in class.
Yeah, I know. But before you showed up out of nowhere, I was the smartest too.
Fine, you're the prettiest and the smartest girl in the world. Can you leave me alone now, please?
Sure, but let me mash everything for the little baby to eat first.
And with that, she started pounding my food with her fist. OMG, you are such a psycho! I picked up the smushed piece of cake and flung it at her face. She picked up my glass of juice and dunked it on my head. My battle with the big bully happened. And before we knew it, everybody joined in for fun and a full-scale food fight had broken out. We both got detention, and after that day I found a corner in the little playpen for the kindergarten kids and basically had lunch there by myself for the next 3 years. Until one day, Isak came and sat next to me. Isak had just joined our class a few weeks ago and he was a total babe. With all the popular girls drooling all over him, I was sure he wouldn't notice someone like me, which is why I was pretty shocked to find him here.
Why do you always have lunch alone?
Is this your first time in high school? Of course, I don't expect someone like you to get it. He took my hand and looked deep into my eyes.
I don't understand why there's such an adorable girl in this high school.
I was so annoyed at how fast that made my heart beat. After that, Isak and I became really good friends. He'd always sit with me to watch his football games and started coming over to my place for study dates. Since he joined so late, he needed to do a lot of catching up and I was more than happy to help. I hated to admit it, I just had the biggest crush on him. The annual spring dance was around the corner and it was all anyone could talk about at school. All the girls were yapping nonstop about their dresses and who they'd be going with. Of course, I was hoping Isak would ask me out, but when he didn't, I decided I didn't need to wait around like a sappy Disney princess. I'd ask him out myself. I bought tickets for the opening show of the new Avengers movie. Just as we were about to enter the theater, one of the cinema staff stopped me.
Hey, little girl, you can't go in. That's a PG-13 movie.
I'm almost 16 here! Look at my ID!
We see fake IDs all the time, kid. Sorry, but I can't let you go.
And with that, he pushed me out of line and refused to listen to me anymore. I can't believe this. Let's go then.
Go. I mean, what's the point of wasting both the tickets? We'll still have dinner together, okay?
And just like that, he turned and went inside. I was furious, as I couldn't even go anywhere because he'd driven me here. When he finally came out after 3 hours, he was practically jumping with excitement.
OMG, that was epic! Deadpool is way funnier and cooler than I imagined!
He'd not only watched the movie without me, he'd ruined it for me completely. I thought maybe the rest of the evening would go a little better, but boy was I wrong. At the end of the meal, when the waitress brought us our fortune cookies, they looked over excitedly at Isak to open his and read the little note inside.
Will you be my date for the spring dance, Isak?
He looked up at me in complete shock.
Alva, I don't know how to say this, but no. How could you even think that? You're more like a little sister to me. I've already asked Jessica out. Man, you've really made things awkward.
I felt so utterly crushed and stupid I flung a glass of water in his face. I wish I could become Wolverine to leave 3 scars on your mouth. And with that, I ran out of there and took the bus home. Nobody was more grateful than me when stupid high school ended and I was off to college. It wasn't too far from my town, so my parents could visit me often or come bail me out every time an officer thought I was an underage driver. Gosh, this is the 3rd time this month. Why are you police officers so dumb? Can't you see I have a real license?
She doesn't mean that, officer. Come on, sweetie. Let's go!
My parents always had my back, but no one understood how frustrating it was for me to be treated like a kid all the time until I met Andrew. In my 2nd year at university, I took up a job as a professor's assistant for one of the courses. I knew the other students made fun of me behind my back, but one day they went really overboard. The professor was unexpectedly detained and I was taking the class in his place. As soon as I turned my back to the board, I got hit by a dozen paper balls. I turned around to see everyone snickering. I'm your teacher! Didn't your parents teach you any respect?
You're not our teacher! You can't even reach the top of the board without standing on a stool. Go back to school, loser!
You can't behave this way with me! I want everyone who's responsible to apologize right now!
Or you'll do what? Go crying to your mommy?
I'll fail you in every single assignment. You do remember I grade them, right?
Oh no! I'm scared, Miss Alva. Will you forgive me if I give you a lollipop?
That's it! Get out!
Happy to! Come on, guys, let's go! We don't need to take orders from some high school smarty pants!
And just like that, the whole class walked out. I tried to keep my cool, but when everyone had left, I burst into angry tears. Just then, I felt a gentle tap on the shoulder, and I looked up to see that it was Andrew, one of the students.
I'm really sorry about the way they treated you. I think you're really smart and beautiful.
We became friends and soon after we started dating. He was just the sweetest guy, and even though he looked much older than me, he was never ashamed to hold my hand in public, even if it got us weird looks. A few weeks later, I had an internship interview in another city, and Andrew offered to see me off at the airport. Just as I was leaving, he took my hand.
Good luck, babe. I hope you get it, but I'll really miss you.
And with that, he pulled me in for our first kiss. My head was still spinning with joy, and finally I saw a few policemen walking towards us.
Sir, please move away from the kid!
What's the problem, officer?
We've recently had many reports of a gang kidnapping young girls, and you need to come down to the station with us to answer a few questions.
Wait, what? He's not a kidnapper. He's my boyfriend, and I'm 20 years old. The policeman didn't listen to a word we said, and we were taken down to the station. My parents had to come down again with my birth certificate and baby pictures before they finally let us go. It turned out that the people at the airport had been making videos of the whole thing, and it had gone viral on social media with people saying all sorts of mean things about me and Andrew. And to make things worse, the company I had an interview with wasn't happy that I didn't show up, so I lost the internship too. I was beyond furious now. I took to social media myself and posted a video talking about how I'd always been discriminated against because of the way I looked. The video went viral, and I started receiving a lot of sympathy messages and support. The public pressure made the police issue an official apology, and the company even offered me the internship again. But my condition had really sparked an interest in the public, and I was being invited to tons of TV and online interviews. All everyone wanted to know was the secret of my youth. Soon enough, I realized that people envied me. One morning, I picked up the local newspaper from the door and was horrified to see my face splashed across the front page with the headline, "Girl Discovers Secret to Eternal Youth."
Babe, come here and look outside the window.
To my shock, there was a massive crowd of people outside our apartment building, and the minute they spotted me in the window, they started screaming.
Have you discovered the fountain of youth? Tell us where it is. What do you eat to look so young? I'll pay anything for it.
With your anti-aging formula for youthful skin, we can become millionaires. Come work for our skincare company.
This was complete madness, and I had to put an end to it. I opened the window and everybody became quiet to hear what I had to say. Listen, there is no secret. It's a condition I've always had, and it's not a blessing. I've never had anyone take me seriously my whole life. I spent all of high school being bullied. My message to everyone is that we all need to learn to be happy in our own skins and accept everyone as they are. Thankfully, the message spread far and wide, and people didn't bother me again. But I still became pretty famous and was regularly called for talks on self-acceptance and against bullying. I'm married to Andrew now, and we have 2 young kids, and secretly I really don't mind at all when someone says I don't look like a mom.
Hi, I'm Melody from New York. Please like and subscribe. I lived with my amazing single mom, who had a tough time raising me on her own. As I grew older, I was determined to work hard and give her a good life one day. I got into a great high school on full scholarship and helped her out by waitressing on weekends. One evening, I was dashing like crazy at the subway station. I was so late for my shift. Suddenly, I bumped straight into someone, but I just shouted an apology and ran off to my train. Just as I was about to get on, someone gently took my hand. I turned around to see the most gorgeous boy ever.
Hey, you dropped this!
He placed something in my hand and I gasped. It was my bracelet. Thank you so much. I would have been devastated if I had lost this. I'm so glad I found you. No, you found me. I mean the bracelet. His smile went all the way up to his warm brown eyes.
You're welcome. Do you think we could maybe?
Just then, the door started closing and I shouted, "Sorry, gotta go!" As the train pulled away, I felt like such an idiot. I didn't even ask for his name. For the next couple of months, I kept hoping I'd bump into him on the way to work, but no such luck. Summer break was over, and I was really looking forward to seeing my best friend, Stella, who'd been away on vacation. We hugged excitedly, and she put her arm through mine as we walked to class.
There's so much I have to tell you. But first, did you ever find the train guy again?
No, it sounds stupid, Stella, but we had an instant connection. He almost asked me out, and now he just disappeared.
Melody, we'll hunt the whole city down till we find him. Now come on, let me introduce you to my new boyfriend, Levi.
She walked up to a tall guy, and when he turned around, my heart almost stopped. It was the freaking train guy. He didn't seem to recognize me as Stella introduced us, telling me how their dads were friends and they'd met on vacation. His family had recently moved to our town, so he'd joined our school. Now, of all the guys in the world, Stella had to meet him. The first class we had that day was English literature, and to my dismay, the teacher chose me and Levi to read out something from Shakespeare. I picked out a scene from Romeo and Juliet, but Levi muttered loudly.
Geez, kill me now.
What, you don't like it?
No, it's a story about two people who were so dumb I was happy when they died. It's so lame.
Oh, is that your expert opinion as a world-famous writer?
No, it's my expert opinion as someone with good taste. It's not romantic, it's stupid.
Dying for love is stupid?
The dumbest!
You have the emotional depth of a teaspoon.
At least I have a brain. But fine, you want me to be stupid, Romeo? I'll do it.
No, I don't want to now! I pulled the book away from him as he held on to it tight, and suddenly we both fell down, ripping it in half. Everyone was staring at us, and the teacher told us to go back to our seats. Ugh, this guy was so annoying. It wasn't a great start, but because of Stella, we both made an effort to be nicer. And I wanted to hate him, but I really couldn't. He was smart, funny, sweet. He was kind of perfect for Stella? Of course. Some months later, we had a big calculus assignment to work on. But when I went to the library, only Levi was there. He told me Stella wasn't feeling well, and I sat down awkwardly. As we got busy working, I suddenly noticed Levi looking at my notebook.
You're doing it the wrong way.
My answer's the same as yours.
But why use such a long method when there's a shortcut?
Because shortcuts lead to mistakes. He pulled his chair closer and started scribbling away. I could hardly focus. Gosh, he smelled so good.
There, done.
Okay, you're a genius. I'm calling it a day. I gathered my stuff and started to leave, but he followed me.
Have I offended you? Why does it always seem like you're mad at me?
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
Just tell me, Melody. Why are you angry at me?
Suddenly, the words just came spilling out. Because you didn't remember me.
Wait, what?
Nothing. It's nothing. I'll see you around. And with that, I ran off. Why did I have to say such a dumb thing? A few weeks later, we had the spring dance at school, and I accepted when a boy from class, Eric, asked me to go with him. I was actually having a pretty good time. And when I stopped to rest, Stella and Levi joined me.
That Eric seems like great boyfriend material, Melody.
Yeah, I guess he's nice.
But you're still hoping to find the train guy, right?
Oh my god, Stella, please, shut up.
Train guy?
Oh yeah, babe. This guy found Melody's bracelet at the train station, and they had this, electric romantic moment. But Melody laughed and never saw him again. She even tried looking for him, but nothing.
I just wanted to magically disappear from the most humiliating moment of my life. Eric came just then and whisked me off to the dance floor. The next day, I was just really distracted at work. I broke 2 glasses, knocked over a jug of water, and then I bumped into a waiter, sending food flying everywhere. I was pretty sure I'd be fired, but that night got even worse when I suddenly noticed my bracelet was gone. I broke down into tears, and the staff helped me look all around the kitchen. The manager even let me stay back and search the restaurant once the customers were gone, but I didn't find it anywhere. Feeling crushed, I finally left and walked straight into someone outside.
Hey, what's wrong?
My bracelet, it's gone! It's the last birthday gift my dad gave me! Levi pulled me into a hug and I buried my face in his shoulder. A minute later, he spoke.
A Melody? You mean this bracelet?
I stepped back to see him taking off the bracelet stuck to my coat. Gosh, I feel so stupid. Thank you, once again. And suddenly last evening came rushing back to me. Listen, I did tell Stella I met some guy, and I thought maybe we had something, but I was wrong. I've only ever thought of you as a friend since we met in school, and I don't like you that way, okay?
Well, that's disappointing.
Wait, what?
I would have looked for you myself, but I left town the next day. And when I saw you in school, I did remember you. Melody, I didn't say anything because what was the point? I'm with Stella, and I've tried so hard not to like you that way either, but it's not working.
He pulled me closer, and my heart was pounding. He leaned in to kiss me, but I snapped back to my senses. No, I can't do this to Stella! Please don't follow me! And with that, I ran. How could I even come this close? I really wasn't looking forward to seeing Levi in school, but I found his seat empty. Stella told me his dad was unwell, and Levi had to go back to his hometown to take care of business. I thought he'd be back soon. But days turned into weeks and then months. The school year ended, and one day during summer break, Stella called me to tell me she and Levi had broken up.
What? Why?
The long-distance relationship made us realize we weren't that good together. I'm sure we can still be good friends, but that's all we'll be now.
I hardly knew what to say. I wanted to call him and ask him how he was doing, but I decided against it. A few weeks later at the restaurant, I walked over to a table to take someone's order, and I nearly fell back when I saw Levi sitting there. Levi, you're back. It's been so long.
Well, I'm here now. I guess you heard about me and Stella.
Yeah, sorry it didn't work out.
It was the right thing for both of us. Melody, do you think that maybe...
Just then, Eric walked in and kissed me on the cheek.
Babe, is your shift almost over? Oh, hey man, you're back.
Levi tried to hide his shock as he realized I was dating Eric now. He'd asked me out a week after the dance. Suddenly, he got up to leave.
I just remembered something important. I'll see you guys in school.
Gosh, we really had the worst timing. Some weeks later, on my 16th birthday, Eric turned up in a limo to take me to dinner. But when we got to this fancy restaurant, I was shocked to see my entire class there. It looked like he booked the whole place. But to top that, Eric jumped onto a chair, suddenly holding a mic.
Happy birthday to the most amazing girl. To show you how much you mean to me, I'm gonna embarrass myself now with this song I wrote for you.
He started singing and I couldn't stop laughing. He was ridiculous. Just then, the mic suddenly died, and everyone heard Levi saying,
"What a loser."
There was a pin-drop silence as everyone turned to him, and Eric was furious.
Dude, is there a problem?
Yeah, just one thing. I don't understand what Melody sees in you.
God, he was so rude. Before I could tell him off, Eric leapt forward and grabbed him by his collar. Levi pushed him back, and he ended up falling in the cake. He attacked Levi again, and they both went crashing into another table. Oh my God, stop it! Levi, what's wrong with you? I pulled him outside.
Your boyfriend attacked me first.
You deserved it. What's your problem with Eric?
He's so annoying and lame, but I guess you like that he's your Romeo.
I like him because he's sweet and caring.
And really rich.
I suddenly slapped him hard. Did you just call me a gold digger? Gosh, you're being such a jerk!
Wait, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, and I don't hate Eric. I just hate that I missed my chance with you again. I wished every day I followed you on that train and things could be different.
Oh, so what was I in the middle of all this? A mistake?
We turned around in horror to see Stella behind us.
So you did find your train guy, Melody, and all this time we were together, you two were in love. Were you secretly making out?
No, Stella, of course not.
Why should I believe you? You lied to my face for so long.
I tried to stop her from leaving, but she pushed me to the ground.
I'm done with both of you.
She stormed off furiously, and I just went back inside. This was a nightmare. The next few weeks were awful. Stella refused to talk to me. I refused to talk to Levi, and everything was a mess. Then Stella didn't come to school for a couple of days, and I began to feel worried. I finally asked the teacher, and she told me Stella and her sister had been in an accident. Oh my God! I went straight to the hospital and found Stella in the waiting area. I rushed forward and hugged her tight, and she hugged me back.
I'm okay, but my sister's in surgery. I'm just so glad you're here, Melody.
I held her hand through it, and we were so relieved when the doctors told us she was going to be okay. We took a walk outside, and Stella turned to me.
Melody, how could you be so stupid? Why didn't you tell me Levi was the guy?
You would have hated me even if I had, Stella. And it doesn't matter now. I'm with Eric.
Just listen to yourself, dummy. You're with Eric, but you're not in love with Eric.
I just ignored her. I wasn't hurting Eric now. I'd messed up things enough. A few weeks later, Eric was having a Christmas party at his place. When I came down all dressed up, Mom said a package had arrived for me. I opened it and gasped. There was a beautiful pair of earrings inside that perfectly matched my bracelet. A note fell out.
This was supposed to be your birthday present. I'm really sorry for everything, Melody. I'm leaving tonight, and I'll be transferring back to my old school. I hope you and Stella patch things up.
Levi. What? I couldn't believe he was leaving for good. I went to the party with a heavy heart, and there I had another surprise waiting. Eric immediately pulled me into a room and popped out a freaking diamond ring. What are you doing?
Melody, let's just get engaged. My family would be so pleased if we announced it tonight. We won't get married right away, of course, but...
Eric, please stop! I can't! He looked at me in shock.
Because of Levi, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. I don't want to be engaged. I don't want my life planned out for me. You're a great guy, but I'm not ready for this. I'm sorry. He quietly kissed me on the cheek and just left, and I immediately called an Uber to the train station. I looked around frantically for Levi, and just then, I saw him climbing onto the train. As I hopped on after him and took his hand, he turned around in shock.
Melody, what are you doing here?
Taking a train ride with you. Also, I broke up with Eric. We're both single now. So what do you want to do about it? He smiled like the first time I saw him.
Do you think we could maybe get dinner sometime?
Finally, yes! And he pulled me in for a kiss.
I wanna get too close, gonna get it right now. I wanna push all the limits with you right now.
Hi, I'm Layla from Washington, and I have a really personal story to share today. But before I do, please like and subscribe. My mom gave birth to identical twin daughters, me and my sister Elise. So, of course, my parents dressed us in the same clothes and braided our hair with matching ribbons. But people could easily tell us apart for one reason. Elise was born with a minor facial distortion. Her eyes were a little lopsided, and her mouth was almost as low as her chin. I, on the other hand, looked like a freaking porcelain doll. And everywhere we went, people would ooh and ah at me. She's just too lovely to be real.
Wow, look at those brown eyes.
I have the same color eyes. But everyone ignored Elise, and it really got to her. I kept telling her she was just as pretty as me, but she wouldn't hear a word of it. And as years passed, my sister grew to hate me. Elise did everything she could to make me feel as sad and angry as she felt. She'd spread rumors about me at school, steal my diary, and once she tried to shave off my eyebrows. I was living in fear, 24/7. Worst of all, my parents didn't take it that seriously.
I'll take away her electronics for a week.
That's not enough, Dad. Elise is trying to ruin my life. What if she tries to seriously hurt me?
Oh, Layla, that's silly. Elise is just going through a phase and we would never let her harm you.
They didn't understand, and when I turned 14, things really turned upside down. One afternoon, I came home from school to find Elise in the living room with my parents, and they looked furious with me.
How could you do something like that, Layla?
What are you talking about?
Elise said you locked her in the closet for an hour. We heard her calling for us.
What? Just then, I saw Elise, and she was smirking at me.
I just don't think I feel safe around Layla anymore, Mommy. How can I trust her after what she did?
Guys, she's framing me. She locked herself up in the closet.
And why would she do that? That's just twisted, Layla.
Didn't my parents see how crazy Elise was? Not one of them talked to me that night. They all watched Luna Avatar with a bowl of popcorn while I stayed in my room. But the next morning, my parents did the unthinkable. They made me move into the guest house.
It was Elise's idea. You two need space away from each other. We can't have this negativity in the house.
So you're kicking me out? What, because I trapped her in the closet? I told you guys I didn't do it.
It doesn't matter who did it. The point is, you two are toxic for each other right now. And at the moment, Elise needs our attention more than you do. You have more friends and the world at your fingertips. It's just for a short time, Layla.
I was speechless. I was being punished for literally nothing, and it was all Elise's fault. I moved into our guest house that evening and didn't speak to any of my family members. In fact, I continued to ignore them for the next several months. Sure, it was clear Elise was much happier without me in the house. She made more friends and even picked up a few hobbies. But I was still bubbling with anger. One day, I was coming out of the supermarket when I saw a homeless boy outside with dyed turquoise hair. I immediately pulled out a bag of bananas and some change, but he just laughed.
Whoa, do I look like a beggar?
If I'm being honest,
These clothes are just really old.
I still insisted that he keep the bananas, and the two of us ended up having lunch together. I found out the boy's name was Easton, and he lived in an apartment down the block. He was also an absolute sweetheart. I told Easton all about my home situation and Elise's issues with me, and he had a brilliant idea.
Pretend to run away from home, leave at midnight, and leave a note. Turn off the location services on your phone, and you can stay at my place. They'll get so scared they'll beg you to move back in with them. They might even finally punish your jerk sister.
I was sold. My whole family deserved a little scare, so that night, I sent a text to both my parents to tell them my plans and switched my location to private. I spent the next 2 nights at Easton's apartment. His family was really poor, and I had to sleep on a torn cot, but I felt fantastic. My parents were probably going crazy.
Maybe they think you joined a gang.
Or they think I'm pregnant and ran off to get married. Unfortunately, the fun didn't last long. The next morning, my parents burst into Easton's apartment with several cops. They hugged me and cried for a moment, but then they were furious.
Why would you scare us like this? We had no idea what was going on.
Sorry, but you kicked me out for no reason, and then neglected me for 6 months. I needed to teach you a lesson.
Teach us a lesson? Layla, we know the living situation isn't perfect, and we know we haven't been giving you as much attention, but just disappearing like you did. That's crazy behavior. Come with us right this second.
After that, Mom let me move back into the house, but she watched me like a dog. Elise even suggested I shouldn't leave home without her escorting me, and my parents agreed. Luckily, I could still hang out with Easton, who was the only person who seemed to care about me, and it turned out we'd even be going to the same high school next month. On my first day of 9th grade, I was in gym class when Easton started jogging next to me.
Whoa there, you look ready to faint. Here, take some of my water.
Oh God, is it that obvious?
Don't worry, you still look lovely, even though you're drenched in sweat.
Easton smiled at me as I drank from his water, and I felt a little weak in the knees, and not just because I was tired. I saw Elise glare at me as she jogged by, but I didn't care. As months passed, Easton and I just got closer, and whenever Elise was mean, he always defended me.
You can make fun of Layla's dress all you want, but she's the one who got a party invitation, and you didn't.
Secretly, I had the biggest crush on Easton, but I was way too chicken to ever tell him. I was just grateful to have a best friend. It was exhausting living with a bully 24/7. Then, one day, when I came home from school, my parents gave me shocking news. They'd found a plastic surgeon to fix Elise's facial distortion. They couldn't completely get rid of it, but I'd never seen my sister so happy.
I felt so ugly my whole life, Layla. I know it sounds shallow, but I can't wait to be as beautiful as you.
Elise, look at me. You've never been ugly. But if getting this surgery makes you feel more confident, then I support you. Elise started to cry then and hugged me. I stayed with her in the surgery room the entire time, and she even apologized for how she treated me. And I was glad. I was ready to give up our crazy fighting. After Elise's surgery, things changed between us. Elise didn't seem jealous of me anymore, and even started hanging out with me and Easton. Then, one day, I walked into my front yard and almost had a heart attack. Elise was kissing Easton. Hey, does someone want to tell me what's going on here?
Well...
Layla, I've been meaning to tell you. Easton and I like each other, and I asked him out.
I felt like I was gonna throw up. I pulled Elise aside angrily. How could you do this to me? Elise, I love him and you know it.
I know you love him, and I'm sorry. But I've been hanging out with Easton for a couple of weeks, and we have a connection.
How could you do this to me? Elise, I love him and you know it.
Layla, I'm not trying to hurt you. I really like Easton, and I just want to be happy for once.
I can't take this anymore. You made me miserable for 14 years, and then got me kicked out of my own house and convinced Mom to basically ground me for 24/7. This is the last straw. I stormed off and blocked Easton on all social media. He kept calling me to apologize and tell me that him dating Elise wouldn't change our friendship, but I refused to speak to him. The next day at school, I decided it was time for overdue revenge. The first thing I did was attach a bucket of paint to the cafeteria doorway, and when Elise walked in with Easton, pink splashed all over them. Everyone laughed like crazy, and I felt great. I got suspended for a day, but it was worth it, and I didn't stop there. That entire month, I pulled every prank I could think of on them at school, putting spiders in their locker and gluing their butts to the classroom chairs. I felt guilty for being a jerk, but Elise deserved it, didn't she? And Easton was dating my sister, who bullied me my whole life. Then one day, I was studying in the courtyard when Easton walked over to me, and he looked furious.
I've had it with you, Layla. Your jealousy has turned you insane. All the kids at school now are terrified of you.
What do you mean? I've done nothing to anyone, except you and Elise.
Really? Because the bucket of paint from your prank got all over the cafeteria floor, and one kid tripped and sprained his ankle. I'm sorry you're hurt about me dating Elise, but it happened organically. Our feelings for each other had nothing to do with you. I know you're hurt, but don't become a bully because of it.
Easton walked off, and I thought about what he said. Maybe Elise wasn't trying to hurt me, and her falling for Easton was just a coincidence. Maybe I could just be happy for her. So that week, I did everything I could to make things right with people. I volunteered to help as many kids as I could with homework, and they'd know I wasn't a monster. And I apologized to Elise and Easton, and surprisingly, they forgave me. On Friday night, Elise and Easton were celebrating their 1-month anniversary at the beach. So I told Elise I'd deliver them a picnic basket. But when I got there, Elise was sitting alone in the sand, and she was crying. Hey, what's wrong? Where's Easton?
He's not here, Layla. He's not coming.
Did you guys break up?
No, because we never dated. It was all fake. I even paid Easton monthly and used up all my savings. I wanted to make you jealous.
Wait, what? I don't understand.
I thought that after my surgery, people would start treating me differently because my face looked better.
I thought I'd finally get as much attention as you. But because my distortion isn't totally fixed, I didn't. And that made me angry. But I can't do this to you anymore. I feel horrible.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Elise kept apologizing, but I couldn't even look at her. I didn't want revenge. I just didn't want to deal with her anymore. Things completely changed between us after that. My sister and I both cut contact with Easton and became strangers to each other. It broke my heart, but I didn't know what else to do. We were toxic for each other. Before we knew it, high school ended, and we both went our separate ways. A couple of years later, I was walking around my university campus when I got a phone call.
Layla, it's Easton. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I need your help. My parents lost their house and are homeless. I'm doing everything I can to help them, but I'm desperate. I'm calling everyone I know for either money or food.
My stomach was in knots. I still hated Easton for what he did, but he was obviously in a crisis. So I bought a bunch of food and clothes and arrived at the homeless shelter.
God, you're an angel. I can't thank you enough.
I'm not doing this for you. It's for your parents. And I never want to see you after this. Do you understand?
Yes, what I did to you was unforgivable. Can I just tell you one thing? I never wanted to go through with Elise's fake dating plan. The only reason I agreed to it was because my family's been struggling since I was a kid. I was always terrified we'd end up living on the streets. It's still no excuse, especially because I was in love with you.
My head started spinning. I had no idea Easton had been suffering that much, and I had no idea that he loved me. I decided it was time to smooth things over. That night, I went right home and convinced my parents to give Easton's family a loan, and then I asked if they could invite Elise for dinner.
Oh, sweetie, that's a wonderful idea. She's doing well these days, but she talks about you a lot.
For some reason, I was happy to hear that. When Elise came over, she immediately ran to hug me.
Layla, I'm so glad you're here. Actually, I got you some presents.
Elise handed me a huge gift bag, and to my shock, she bought me all kinds of expensive presents. Perfume, jewelry, and even a brand new iPad.
None of this makes up for how I've treated you over the years. But I love you, Layla. And if you ever want to have a relationship, I'm here.
Thanks, Elise. That means a lot. You did really hurt me. But it has been a couple of years. I can't forgive you overnight. But this is a good start.
I also know you got in touch with Easton. If you ever want to date him, you have my blessing. It's a possibility. But
first, I want to make things right with you. Though, of course, Elise invited Easton over later and left us alone on our porch.
I'm really glad you and Elise made up. Do you think you can ever forgive me? Layla, I never really got over you.
Wow, I didn't know that. But it will take me some time to trust you again.
I understand that. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes.
Hi, I'm Emery, and this is my story. But before I continue, please like and subscribe. When I was a kid, my parents always fought a lot. Mom got so fed up that she yanked me out of bed one night and snuck me out the door. Mom, I'm sleepy. I want to go to bed.
Shh. Quiet.
The next thing you know, we'd moved to a tiny apartment in a strange town, and I hated it. I screamed and cried for Mom to take us back home. Take me back! This is whack! I tried reaching out to my dad, but he was always too busy. That made me sad. But Mom found ways to cheer me up. Eventually, I got used to our new place, and hanging out with Mom was pretty cool. After a while, Mom met someone new. Soon they were married, and we moved into a new house. My stepdad was nice, but his daughter was a witch.
Hey Naomi, welcome your new mom and stepsister.
Welcome them. You, Dad, they're poor. Why are we keeping them here and feeding them? They're disgusting and gross.
Haha, she's just kidding. She's a little shy. She's a sweetheart once you get to know her.
Naomi was the worst. She threw ketchup in my face, turned the lights off when I was reading, tossed my clothes out the window, and stole all my toys. I tried to tell my mom what was going on.
Hey babe, we're guests here. Naomi is a bit spoiled, but we have to learn to accept her.
Thank God Naomi and I didn't go to the same school. Naomi went to an expensive school for brats, and I begged my mom and stepdad to let me stay at my old school. But a few years later, things took a turn. My stepdad's company lost a ton of money and he couldn't keep up with the bills.
girls. Money is tight. So we'll have to enroll both of you in public school.
Public school? No!
Naomi threw the biggest tantrum and refused to eat for a week. Though I caught her sneaking cookies from the kitchen at night. On the first day of school, Naomi acted like a total spoiled brat.
Hey everyone! You may see this girl talking to me, but that doesn't mean we're related. She's just our maid.
No, she's our maid.
No, she's our maid.
No, she is our maid.
No, she's our maid.
Naomi and I fought all the time. We shouted at each other in the hallway, had a food fight in the cafeteria, and one time during science class, we started shoving each other and accidentally hurt the teacher who was trying to separate us. She ended up with a broken nose. The kids thought we were insane. Neither of us had any friends. I mean, I couldn't blame them. Naomi was a crazy witch and I'm cool, but shy and weird and insecure and invisible. So yeah, after weeks of being outcasts, we grew a bit closer. Just a bit. 'Cause we were lonely, and we only had each other. Then one day in first grade, our parents sat us down to give us some news.
We're gonna have a baby.
Oh really? That's cool!
A baby? Why would you go and do a stupid thing like that?
The baby came and my parents were so happy.
A beautiful little boy.
Isn't he precious? Let's call him Sam.
I fell in love with Sam immediately, even though he was annoying. He cried a lot and peed all over the place. Naomi avoided Sam like the plague. She'd lock herself in her room and only came out to eat.
Look at his stupid, dirty face. Oh my god. Why is he throwing food everywhere?
I played with Sam every day.
You're so good with him. Honey, could you watch Sam while Dad and I run some errands?
Sure, no problem. As time went on, Mom and Dad started leaving him with me all the time. Eventually, I was Sam's permanent babysitter. When Sam turned 2, he turned into a maniac. He drew on the walls with crayons, smashed an expensive vase, and poured milk in my dad's office drawer. And they blamed me every time.
That vase cost a fortune. I'm taking it out of your allowance.
But it's not my fault.
I told you so.
Told me what?
That the brat was a bad idea. It's only gonna get worse.
And Naomi was right. One day, I had a huge chemistry test and told my parents way in advance that I needed to study. But they still shoved Sam in my face and just left. I'd had enough. I dropped Sam off in Naomi's room and headed out the door.
Where do you think you're going?
I'm done with this family. I'm out of here.
You can't just leave me with this thing.
Watch me. Look, Sammy, she has cookies. Sam grabbed Naomi and I walked out the door.
No, get away. Leave me alone. Help.
I hopped on the bus and went straight to my dad's. He was out of town when I got there, so his maid let me in. For the first time in a long time, I had peace and quiet. My mom and stepdad freaked out when they found out I'd left, but I refused to come back. In school the next day, Naomi ran up to me looking crazy.
I can't take it. Please come back home.
I thought you hated me?
I do, but Sam's a demon. He tore up all my clothes and flushed my makeup down the toilet.
Sounds like you're getting a taste of your own medicine. I turned to walk away, but then Naomi started bawling like a big baby.
Please, I'll do anything. Just come back home.
Okay, maybe I'll come back, but on one condition. You have to do what I say when I ask.
No way. I'm not your maid.
You won't be my maid. You'll be my assistant.
That's even worse.
Take it or leave it. Naomi reluctantly agreed. But even if she hadn't, I'd have moved back anyway because I missed my little Sam. The thought of him being ignored by my shallow parents and selfish Naomi made me sick to my stomach. I moved back in, and whenever our parents left us with Sam, I'd set up a schedule so Naomi and I shared the responsibilities. Things were great for a while, but they took a turn. When Sam turned 10, he stole my mom's diamond ring and gave it to his classmate to impress her.
A pretty ring for a pretty girl?
Are you crazy? I can't take this.
Sam got so mad he punched the girl in the face. Then he sold Mom's ring to his friend.
I'll give it to you for $50.
40!
Deal!
One day, Sam's teacher called my parents in for a meeting. Of course, they were too busy to go and sent me and Naomi instead.
We came because our parents have leukemia. Oh my god.
No, she means anemia.
No, I think I meant amnesia. They're getting old and crazy.
They're just sick, and we came instead of them. Can you tell us what the problem is?
Sam gave one of his classmates a black eye. He broke a window, and he's been terrorizing the other students.
When we got home, I went straight to Sam's room. We need to talk about what's going on with you in school.
I'm busy.
If you keep this up, you might get expelled.
Get out!
Sam slammed the door in my face. He was very stubborn, but I wanted to help him. When my mom and stepdad came back that night, Naomi and I told them everything.
It's those mean kids. They hate me. And they're always making fun of me because I don't have nice things.
Oh, darling, we're so sorry.
We'll buy you new clothes.
Then Mom took Sam on a shopping spree. I couldn't believe they fell for his act. Later that night, my parents went out of town for a business dinner, and Naomi and I were watching Avatar World videos in my room when Sam appeared out of nowhere.
Hey, stupid witches, you're gonna pay for telling on me.
Get out of the way, Psycho! We're trying to watch TV!
Sam pulled out a huge jar of crickets from behind his back and smashed it onto the floor. The crickets landed in our hair and all over our clothes.
Ha ha ha! Get them, my pretties!
A couple of months later, Mom and Stepdad called us into the living room to tell us we were moving into a brand new, fancy house.
So wait, we're rich again?
Yes, we have twice as much money as we had before.
Thank God! I hated being poor.
Now I can go to a fancy college.
Only the best for my daughter.
A month later, Naomi left for college in another city. I could have gone away too, but I was too worried about Sam, so I got enrolled in a college close to home. But soon after, my stepdad enrolled Sam in an expensive private school, and he started hanging out with these spoiled rich kids. I had to make sure that he didn't get into some big trouble. In my sophomore year, I was reading in the park one day when suddenly I spotted a big dog running at crazy speed with a guy my age trying to grab his leash. His name was Alex, and he was a senior in my university. I gave him my hoodie, and we ended up talking for a while. I hadn't even realized 2 hours had gone by. Oh shoot, I gotta go. I gotta check in on my little brother.
So how? How do I get your hoodie back to you? Maybe I could take you out for dinner tomorrow?
Oh, I'm sorry, but with the university and some things at home, I really don't have time to date.
Gotcha. Well, here's my number. Just let me know where I can drop it then.
He started walking away, and so did I. But a part of me felt like I was doing the wrong thing. Hey, wait! How about a coffee tomorrow?
Sounds like a good place to start.
Alex and I started dating, and being with him just made me happy. For the first time, it felt like someone was noticing what I needed and was taking care of me. But things at home with Sam just kept getting worse. He was skipping classes and getting detention all the time. And then some creepy guys started coming around the house looking for Sam when my parents weren't home. When I asked him who they were, he just told me to mind my business. Then one night, Sam came home with a bruised face. Are you okay? What's going on?
I'm fine, sis. I can take care of myself.
Sam, I can't be your babysitter forever. I have a life of my own, and one day I'll just leave.
Then leave. My life, my choices. You can't change someone who doesn't want to change.
Then he just hugged me and cried. The next morning I tried to talk to him, but he was already gone. I'm worried about Sam. I think something's going on with him.
You worry too much, honey. Sam's fine.
Have you seen his face?
He said he got hurt during football practice.
Soon after I graduated, Alex proposed. And I was over the moon! I'd have to move out, but I would only be 10 minutes away from Sam. Not that he seemed to care much either way. And on my wedding day, Sam was nowhere to be found. I kept calling him, but I couldn't get through, and we couldn't postpone the ceremony any longer. I felt so upset that he had missed this. But 2 hours later, I finally got a panicked call from Sam asking me to pick him up from some bad neighborhood. You're not a baby anymore. You just ruined one of the most important days of my life. I've always been there for you, and you couldn't even be there for me, even today. I started to give up hope of fixing him. I was fighting a battle alone, a battle that wasn't mine, and my parents just made things worse. Sam failed high school, but my stepdad paid the school board to give him passing grades. It made me so mad, but I had no say in the matter. Then one day, the company I worked for gave me an amazing job promotion if I moved to California. It was a great opportunity, but I felt unsure. Alex supported me either way, but I tossed and turned all night, thinking about what to do, and finally called Naomi.
You've got one life, Emery. You can either live it for Sam or live it for yourself.
Sam had started interning at his dad's firm, but I observed him for some weeks and saw that he still had the same kind of friends and was still blowing money and partying the same way. And I finally made my decision.
What? You're going to California? That's across the country. I need you here, Emery.
No, not really. You only need me around to clean up your messes. But I'm done doing that. Sam, you were right. You can't change someone who doesn't want to change.
Emery, please. You're all I have.
You've got Mom and Dad, and they'll take care of you in their own way. You're their kid. I just can't be your parent anymore.
But you're my big sister.
And I'll always be there for you as that. So when you decide to fix your ways, come and see me, okay? I love you, Sam, but I'm leaving. It's time.
Hi, my name is Pomni, from Norway, and I never thought anyone noticed me. Not until I met the sleeping boy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning, like and subscribe. You won't regret it. Growing up, the only person who ever noticed me was my big sister, Ragatha. My mom traveled for work so much that I even called Ragatha Mom. When I was too little to understand what was going on, my sister would take me to school, where I would sit in silence and never say a word to anyone until she picked me up again. And then I wouldn't shut up the whole way home. But she didn't mind. She liked hearing me talk, and she liked playing games with me, like making me look like one of her dolls. She would also give me a makeover using our mom's makeup. Or dress me up as a monster and have me chase her around the house. Roar! I'm gonna eat your head.
My head?
Yeah, it's the yummiest part.
You really are a little monster.
Roar! When we got older, our mom moved to another country for work. She asked if we wanted to come, but we decided to stay. Ragatha had graduated from university and had a real job now, so we didn't have much time to hang out. But every Friday, I would wait for her at the train station near my school for when she got out of work. And we would hang out all weekend. And even though we grew up, nothing really changed. Except now we didn't play dress up anymore. Now we dressed up for real to go out to dinner, or the arcade, or whatever we wanted. We had the best life. The only problem was, I was still too shy to talk to anyone, especially boys. One time when we were at the arcade, I saw a boy staring at us. Ragatha elbowed me.
He's looking at you, Pomni. Go talk to him.
My cheeks got so red, my hands all clammy. I suddenly froze up and couldn't even play the games anymore.
Okay. Let's go home. You don't have to talk to any boys. But you know, it would make me really happy if you tried at least once for me.
Maybe you can talk to a boy for me. Then I won't have to do any work. She gave me a dirty look, but she was only kidding. I knew she was right. I just had no idea how I would ever talk to a boy. Then one Friday, the train that was supposed to arrive didn't come.
And suddenly, I got a really bad feeling. After 30 minutes, the train finally came, but Ragatha wasn't on it. I called and called, but she didn't answer. Then finally, I got a call, but it was from a random number.
Hello?
Is this Ragatha's sister? Pomni, this is the hospital. Your sister was in an accident. She's in a coma.
All the air left my lungs. In the hospital, I found her lying there with her head bandaged. She looked like she was sleeping. They didn't know how, but she fell onto the tracks and hit her head. The doctor said it was impossible to know when she would wake up. From that day on, I started visiting her every day. I usually read to her, but one day I forgot my book, so I just talked. And when I left, I ran into the nurse in the hallway.
If you have time, maybe you can talk to him too. He's in a coma, like your sister. I think he was part of the accident she was involved with.
He was?
I think so, but we don't know who he is. He didn't have any ID when he was brought in.
He had no one to visit him. I felt so sad. I imagined my sister being here all alone, with no one to talk to her all day. Before I knew it, I was in his room. He looked a couple of years older than me. I sat down beside his bed, and without even realizing it, I was just talking to him, just like I talked to Ragatha. 30 minutes later, I was finally out of things to talk about. That's when I realized something. You know, you're the only boy I've ever talked to. You're a really good listener. I started bringing 2 books to the hospital every day after that. One for my sister, and one for the boy with no name. Something strange happened after I was reading to him for a few days. Every night when I went home, I would think about him and even dream that we met and talked and fell in love. I realized it was ridiculous to fall in love with someone I didn't even know. And the next day, when I read to him, I tried to push the thoughts away. But for some reason, I just couldn't help but think maybe it was love at first sight. That night, I decided to leave the book I had been reading to him in the hospital closet so I wouldn't forget it. But when I opened it, I saw there was a leather sketchbook inside. I opened it and saw that it was drawings of people at the train station. Every page was a different person. I flipped until I found my sister. I couldn't believe it. I realized then that the nurse was right. They must have been in the same accident. And it gave me a great idea. Maybe if I could find out what happened, I could find out who he was. I went to the train station from his drawings. It was the same one Ragatha used to come and see me after work on Fridays. I saw a woman waiting for the train. Excuse me, do you know about an accident that happened here a few weeks ago?
Yes, I was here. A young woman fell from the platform as the train was coming and she hit her head. She would have died. But then the boy jumped down and picked her up. But as he pulled her away, the side of the train hit his back and he fell too.
Whoa! The boy I had been reading to all this time had saved my sister's life. Maybe I wasn't so ridiculous for having feelings for him. Maybe it was destiny. Then the woman pointed to an elderly lady.
That older woman. I think it's the boy's grandmother. She's been coming here every day waiting for him. We tell her he's in the hospital, but she doesn't remember.
I was so sad to see her waiting there for him. I wanted to tell her what happened. Excuse me, ma'am. Are you waiting for your grandson?
Yes, he's never late.
I don't know what happened, but I decided if she couldn't remember anything, maybe it wasn't a good idea to tell her something so terrible, like he's in a coma and might never wake up. But I couldn't leave her there like that, waiting for him. She had a cane and looked very weak. I'm sure he'll come home soon. Can I help you get home? I walked with her as she told me stories about how kind and wonderful her grandson was.
His name is Oscar. He's always drawing. He takes care of me.
With every word she spoke about him, I was falling more and more in love. But then I realized, oh no! Without him, she had no one to take care of her. After I walked her home, I went to the market and bought a bunch of food and took it to her house, where we both cooked while she told me more stories about him.
I always tell him he needs to meet a girl and have a life of his own. But he says he doesn't have time for girls. He says it's because of his work. But I know it's because he takes care of me every day. But there is one girl he likes a lot. He always draws her. See?
She pointed to a stack of drawings. I looked through them all. They were all of Ragatha waiting at the train station. I couldn't believe it. He was in love with her. My heart broke into a million pieces. The love I felt for him, it was all for nothing. And what was worse, if they both woke up, they would probably end up together, and I would have to watch. Still, I couldn't let his grandmother be alone, with no one to take care of her. So every day I would take the train and find her there waiting for him. And every day we would cook while she told me stories about how wonderful he was. I had to smile, but I wanted to cry. And every night after visiting her, that's exactly what I did. I cried on the train ride home, on the walk, and in my bed. And every day I would get up, go to the hospital, read to my sister, and then read to him. And then one day, I stopped reading and just talked. You know, Oscar, you're still the only boy I've ever talked to. And to be honest, the only boy I've ever loved. When you wake up, everything will be different. I'll miss spending time with you, but I hope we can at least be friends. One night, while I was sleeping, I got a phone call. Hello?
Fantastic news! Your sister woke up and she's doing really well!
I ran to the hospital and found her sitting there eating pudding. She smiled big when she saw me. I hugged her so tight, she begged me to let go. Before we left, I asked the nurse, "Can I come back to see him again?"
I'm sorry, but we don't allow anyone up here except family. I wasn't supposed to let you visit him at all, but I felt so bad.
Oh, I see. Can I say goodbye? She nodded, and I went to Oscar's room. When you wake up, I'll make sure you and my sister meet again. Oh, and don't worry. I'll take care of your grandmother until then. Goodbye, sleeping boy. I asked if Ragatha remembered anything, but she didn't. I heard a boy saved your life when you fell?
Really? I would love to meet him one day.
I'm sure you will. Fate has a way of making things happen. After that, Ragatha was still too hurt to work, so she just lived with me. But I kept seeing Oscar's grandmother every day to make sure she ate and was doing okay. One day, I knocked on his grandmother's door, and when it opened, it wasn't her on the other side. It was Oscar. I am.
Hello! Are you looking for my grandmother?
Yes.
She told me someone was taking care of her while I was sick, but she couldn't remember your name. Thank you.
Then he gave me a big hug, and all the thoughts I was trying to push away about being in love with him came back. He invited me inside, and we all had dinner. And this time, he had done all the cooking, and it was still delicious. While we sat and ate, I realized all the stories his grandmother had told about him were true. He was kind, sweet, funny. Then he asked me to wait while he put her to bed. After, he asked if we could talk outside. I said yes, but to my surprise, instead of going out the door, he went to a ladder that led up to the attic. Wait, why up there?
This is where I go to draw when my grandmother goes to bed, and tonight there will be fireworks.
He went up, and I followed him, even though I hated heights. He led me to a window and stepped out. He sat on the roof, and I sat beside him, looking over the faraway city. The lights twinkled like stars.
So how did you meet my grandmother?
Oh no! I hadn't thought about this part. If I told him the truth, I would have to say that I read to him in the hospital. At the train station. She was always waiting for you. Which wasn't a lie exactly. But now that meant I couldn't even tell him thank you for saving my sister's life. Maybe if I ask him about the accident, it will all come out naturally. But he said he couldn't remember what had happened. I felt so foolish for not telling him the truth, just to save myself from a little embarrassment. All he did was be nice to me. I decided I owed him for saving Ragatha. So even though I would be humiliated and look stupid, I would tell him the truth. But before I could, he said,
I kind of remember a little. There was this girl. I think she fell. I was in love with her.
I know.
You know? How could you know?
I saw your drawing of her. Your grandmother showed me. You were in love with her. That's why you jumped and saved her.
Actually, no. I was in love with her sister.
I couldn't breathe. Did he just say what I think he said? He looked down at the ground and said,
Every Friday, the girl from my drawings and I would get on the same train. Sometimes we talked a little. She said she was meeting her sister, and she started telling me about her, what she was like. She was cool and funny, and she was. When she would get off, her sister would meet her. And I guess it was love at first sight, like we were meant to be. Sorry, I must sound stupid.
Good thing he wasn't looking at me. Or maybe he would have seen the hearts in my eyes. Why did you draw her sister and not the girl you liked?
I only saw her for a few seconds every day, but I always tried.
Then he showed me his book of drawings, and all the way in the back, there were drawings of parts of a girl. Never the full picture since he drew from memory but never saw her fully. It was me! I couldn't believe it!
After the accident, I can't remember what they looked like. I went to the station today, but I didn't see anyone who could have been her or her sister. I guess I'll never see her again.
Actually, you're looking at her right now. He turned to me, confused, and then his eyes lit up as he recognized me.
But how? I don't understand.
I put my hand on his and kissed him. Just then, the sky exploded with fireworks. I pulled away and looked into his eyes. It's a little complicated. Let's just say I took care of you.